Hello and welcome back. I hope you're able to set up your GitHub account as instructed in the last video. Now, I'm going to pull up my GitHub account over here. So if I go to github.com and click on sign in over here, use the email address that you used to create the account and then enter your password and click on sign in. Okay, so once you sign in, this is the page that will show up. Now, the first thing we're going to do is add our Nitrous environment's SSH key to our GitHub account. Now, what will that do? What that will do is it will allow us to push our code from our local development environment over here to GitHub without having to enter in username or password or anything like that. Okay? Now, there are a couple of ways to do this, but I'm going to show you a traditional way. So first thing, go to your IDE and over here, type in cat, which is short for concatenate, space, tilde, slash, dot, ssh, slash, id, underscore, rsa, dot, pub. What this will do is this command will display your SSH key. Hit enter. Now this is your public SSH key, okay? Now what you're going to do is copy this entire thing from the beginning right till the end over here. And then Command C to copy it. Okay, now next step is we're going to add this to our GitHub account. So go to your GitHub account and over here on top right where it says View Profile and More, click on it and go down to Settings. Then over here under Personal Settings where it says SSH key, click on that. Here are your SSH keys that are currently in your GitHub account. Okay, so I can see that I have one over here that I don't use from before. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that since I never use it. Now to add your SSH key, click on this button over here, add SSH key. Title, you want to give it something meaningful. So Nitrous IDE key. And then over here in the key field, simply Command V to paste it. Okay? And then scroll down, click on this add key button. Okay, so now your key has been added. Now the next step is to create a repository for your application. Okay, so every time you have a new application, you will create a separate repository for it in your GitHub account. So for this application, we need to create a repository. How do we do that? Over here on top right, where there's this plus sign over here, if you hover over it, it says create new. Click on that. Click on new repository. Okay. Now enter in the repository name. I'm simply going to call it alpha-blog, which is what we named our application. Description, this is optional. I'm going to call it first Rails app of the complete Ruby on Rails developer course. Public, which is fine. Now over here, initialize this repository with a README. Leave this as it is and simply click on create repository. Okay, perfect. So our repository has been set. Now remember, we added the SSH key of our Nitrous environment to our GitHub account. So click on this over here where it says HTTPS or SSH, click on SSH. All right. So now the first one says create a new repository in the command line. We don't need to do that because we have an existing Git repository. Push an existing repository from command line. This is what we'll do. Okay. So first thing it's saying is to add remote origin. Now this line, we're going to add these in our command line from our app directory. So copy this, Command C, back over here, going to clear this up. Make sure you're in the alpha blog directory and click on Command V. So git remote add origin. What this is saying, what is this origin? It's saying that for this app, that is the origin. Okay, so that is our code repository. And whenever we push our code, it's going to go to that repository, which is what we want. So hit enter. Now to test whether it got added correctly, type in git space remote space -v, hit enter, and check it out. You have your origin listed right here. Okay? Now, back to our instructions. The next one says git space push space u origin master. Okay? So copy that, then paste it over here. So this will push all our code to that repository, which is currently empty. All right. So I'm just going to hit enter. The authenticity, this you get for the first time, but you will not have to worry about this after the first time. So over here, where it says, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Just type in yes and hit enter. Okay, so our code got pushed to our GitHub repository. Let's test it out. Over here, if I simply reload this page, now notice there's our entire application. Okay, great. Now if I scroll down, here is the README, the public README from here. If you look at this, there's the README. Now this is the standard README that came with our Rails application. Okay, now I want to change that. And this will also give us an opportunity to practice pushing again. So let's change this file. Over here, I'm going to just get rid of all of this. And I'll say this is the repository for the first alpha blog app of the complete Ruby on Rails developer course. Save that. Now remember, to actually save this change to our Git repository first, we have to make a commit. Otherwise, if we push right now, it's not going to push this change to my repository. It needs to be committed first. So if I type in git status, notice how it says modified readme.r, because that's the file I just modified. So to commit my change, git add -a, then git commit -m. I will just say modify readme for repo within quotes, hit enter. Now what will happen if I type in git status and hit enter is on branch master, which is correct. Your master is ahead of origin master by one commit. Okay? So it's actually telling me, my local Git repository is telling me I have made a change here and committed that change to my local repo, which I have not pushed to my GitHub repository. Okay? So that's why it's ahead by one commit. So if you go 3 or 4 commits before pushing your code to your repo, it's going to tell you how many. All right? So at this point, I'm going to push my code to my repository again. To do that, going forward, since I already pushed once using the commands that GitHub had told me to, all I need to do is type in git push and hit enter. Okay, see, now this time I didn't need to enter in anything else. Simple git push. Because this repository is now set as my origin, I don't have to keep verifying it or anything of that sort. Now, if I reload this page, notice at the bottom, it says modify readme for repo, and the update was made 2 minutes ago. So my latest update to the readme file got pushed, and there it is, the readme rdoc. This is the repository for the first alpha blog app of the complete Ruby on Rails developer course. Okay, perfect. Now back to our IDE. So that's the cycle of pushing your code to your GitHub repository. And I'd encourage you to make frequent commits to your repo so that your code is backed up and it also displays that you're on top and contributing to your GitHub account. All right. Now let me pull up a diagram that we had looked at earlier on. There it is. So remember how we discussed in the ecosystem that there is the local and then there's the production. So what we've worked on so far is our local development, right? We've set up the page, we set up our GitHub repository and pushed our code to GitHub. But this component, the production hosting, is still missing for our application. So anytime we have to view our app, we have to run our server here. So Rails s-b. We have to go through this cycle in our local. And then we have to preview our app over here. And this is the only link that I can access my app in. And also this link is only available to me. This is not available to others. So not only is it just accessible when I'm running the server locally, it's not available to my friends, for example. So what if I want to display my web page to my friends or coworkers or others? I want to deploy to production, which brings us to the next step. To deploy and host our application in production for free, we'll use one of the easiest hosting services out there for Rails projects, and it's called Heroku. So navigate over to a new browser window and type in heroku.com. Okay, now there are a lot of other hosting services for production, but in my experience, this has been the easiest to work with, especially when starting out so far. And also their free tier is good enough for most starting apps. Now in the next video, we will deploy our app to production using Heroku. So go ahead and sign up for Heroku unless you already have a Heroku account. So one thing I will mention is you are simply signing up, okay? Don't follow any other steps or anything else, which we will walk through in the next video. Simply sign up, it'll send you an activation link and activate your account, and that is it. You don't have to do anything else from the site. Now the next thing I'll add is this step of deploying your app to production is optional, okay? You can skip this if you don't want to have a live running app or display or share the link with your friends. That's completely up to you. But I would recommend getting this started with this step early on, so we have less issues deploying later on when you've built a lot of code. So we'll make frequent deploys to Heroku to make sure our app is running correctly at every step of the way. All right, so good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.